We invited a special guest speaker today for you, and David is a co-owner of startup, which is considered to be one of the best Polish startups. And as Chris said, he will be talking a bit about selling your ideas, selling projects, and I think when it comes to that topic, it's probably one of the best persons. Well, he's cooperating with NASA. What to mention more? So, David, the floor is yours.
Okay, so then again, thank you very much for invitation, and it was really very cool to hear about all these projects, and especially the part where you were talking about working with students. I know from my experience that they can be very creative creatures, and also the part about the building website was very interesting to me, because this is the my expertise. As Marta said, I'm co-founder of a startup or company, whatever we want to call it, and you may ask what being a co-founder of company has in common to work in the corporate. So the thing is that before I started my own company, I spent more than 5 years working in different corporates, wearing suits, white collars, and so on. So I've got a lot of experience there, and to be honest, I really like this time in my life, but I'm gonna talk about it later. So what I would like to have today as far as formula is concerned, so I will share with you my experience from both working in corporates and running a company and leading teams in different aspects. And after this short introduction, I would like to have some kind of discussion, or I would like to hear what's your idea on these subjects are, what are your reflection or any doubts you could possibly have. So as for agenda for today, I would like to just quickly introduce myself very, very shortly, just to give you, perspective of my angle, my point of view, from which I'm currently looking at this subject. And then I'm gonna quickly tell you about pitching projects. So how does it work in the startup world? How you can pitch your idea, which I think is very similar to what you are guys doing. And my thoughts on leadership, motivation, and what are the differences or actually similarities between working in a huge company versus working in a small startup. So let me just quickly introduce me and my company. So we as MDB, long story make short, we are making software. The difference is that we are not doing this for the end customers, but we are creating software for programmers. So we are creating tools. Like you can think of this like Photoshop for photographers. So this is like slightly different from other software companies. And just to give you a high-level understanding of what we are doing, we are creating an elements, and these elements, you can use them to build your own application, website, and so on. And this is like Lego bricks, so it just fits together. And the point is that obviously you could do it yourself. I mean, any developer could possibly build it, but then he would spend like 3 months building these small bricks, and they can just get it from us, and it's tested. It works on all devices. It's worked on iPhone, iPad, all different browsers. So we are taking care of it, and as a result, the programmer can focus on his work. So some key facts about us is that we are quite a young company, startup. To be honest, I don't like this. I don't like startup. I don't like this word, and I also don't like this this whole startup thing. I think it's a buzzword. But yeah, I mean, we were called startup. I think now we are more like a company. But the whole, still the point is that we are quite young, 3.5 years old, and since that we've got more than 2 million developers using our software, and we have these companies which you can see here, so a lot of top 500 Fortune, and well, there are more which we cannot publicly share, but since I seen on Marta's slides that this is just internal, so I can also share with you that we also have this customers like US Navy or Department of State. But unfortunately, we are not allowed to share this, use this logo officially. Other facts, although we are settled, we are based in Poland. We have a quite small team, just 20 people, but we are selling to over 100 countries. And just this week news is that we got a first place in in a global startup ranking to be a first startup in Poland, and 190 place in global ranking. And last year we had the pleasure to be a startup of the year by University of Warsaw. And well, what is important here? So I think to share, maybe not important but interesting, is that we created company without any funds. I mean, without any investors, governments. What we did, we just quit our previous job. We gave ourselves some backup, which is like 6 months cash. To survive 6 months, and then we focus on building company. I mean the product, actually, not the company. And what was the result is that after 11 months we hit like 1 million Polish zloty revenue, and then after 2 years we hit $1 million, and also after these 2 years we reached the first milestone, which was 1 million users. And the last year we were listed on this Forbes 30 under 30, which is obviously an amazing distinction for every entrepreneur. And some small information about me is that I've been working for 6 years in corporates. So this has been like Accenture, which is the biggest IT company in the world, like wearing a suits all the time. And for 4 years during this time, I spent this abroad working on different projects in India, Netherlands, Belgium, and other countries and customers. I made 600 flights over these 4 years, and then I switched to my own company, where now I'm managing a team of 20 people. I'm 30 years old, and I have a 6-year-old daughter. So the first thing I wanted to share with you today is that when we in this startup world, this startup Polish scene, which isn't that big, to be honest, there were a few moments where we kind of become famous, and this was, for example, when we hit this 1 million, and there were some press news about it, or when NASA bought our software, and people were like asking, okay, so what's the formula for this kind of success, if we can call it? Then again, I don't like this word success, because people I think use it in very different aspects, but yeah, we were asked this question. So my answer always is that I could tell you 2 stories behind it, and they both gonna be true, and both of them gonna be real. So the first story would be it is a fact that we just created MDB, so our last product, like within a month, and after 11 months we got 1 million revenue, and this is true. But what is also true, and this is more like American dream, this is the story which people like to hear, because they like to read, they like to hear about the successes rather than failures. But what is also true, and what is also very important to mention, is that before MDB, before our last project, we spent another 3 years of trying and failing on other ideas and other projects. So probably, I mean, not probably, but for sure, we wouldn't be successful with the last project if we didn't fail before. So yeah, I mean, this is the story, and I think if I were to show you some visualization how it works, because people think like still many people believe that this is like just the brilliant idea which you wake up one day and you are doing this, and this is obviously not true. I mean, Steve Jobs said that every brilliant idea was just a thought at the very beginning. If you think of it, think of Facebook. Facebook was originally thought as a place to rank people, rank girls, give some stars or whatsoever, or to find out whether given a girl or guy have a girlfriend or boyfriend. So it's not like that someone is just waking up one day with the idea of Facebook. No, it doesn't work like that. So that was also our story. So at the very beginning we had this idea, let's call it X, and it turned out totally missed. So after some time of trying, we just had to kill it, but there was some legacy, which was obviously an experience. Then we have another idea, which was Y. That was also a disaster, so we have to kill it, and then we moved to idea Z, which was disaster again, but slightly less unsuccessful than the previous one. But this project also failed. And then we moved to the next one, and along the road, the next projects were slightly better. Some of them already get some traction. Some of them, we had one of this project when we had we created a job portal. So we thought that we're gonna do a job offer portal for IT guys. So we wanted to be a competition to LinkedIn, but just focused on IT. And the problem was that we've been having a lot of traffic. We've been generating a lot of traffic, 100,000 people daily visiting our website, and we couldn't make a penny with this project. So we knew how to do marketing, but we didn't know how to monetize it, how to make money. So you can imagine how difficult it is to drop this idea at certain point of time, because from one side you see that you are successful to a certain extent because you are generating traffic, it's working fine. But on the other hand, how long you can pay for servers to handle such a big load on your website and without making any single cent of that. So that's how it works, and this is like finally this idea A leads you to B, B to C, and so on, and finally we end up with idea of MDB, which turns to work out. And obviously even this diagram above is a huge simplification, because number of dead ends, wrong decision and distractions is just countless when you do something like that. Now, talking about the pitching. So the pitching is a process when you try to sell your idea to someone, and actually this is the point. So you are always selling, and you are always selling your ideas. Sometimes you are selling this to the VC funds, sometimes you are selling this to your customers, but one way or another you are just selling. And this is this activity which will happen sooner or later, but there are two ways to sell your project, and I think they are both great. Actually, we didn't go for the first one, so for the pitching, and the reason behind it is this, because when a few years back we went to this event which is called Berlin Startup Safari, when we met some lawyers specializing in this VC funding, and they told us this thing that pitching is a full-time job. So what I mean to say is that in this startup world you have like two options. So you can have this very nice idea, and then you want to find someone, some VC, some business angel who will just invest in your idea. But then you need to be aware of this fact that this pitching process is a really full-time job, and it takes like half a year. So it's not like you're just going somewhere, giving a presentation, and they will just give you money. No, it doesn't work like that. It's like, you have to have an idea, you have to prepare slides, you have to have idea, for a project itself, because they're going to ask you questions. Then when you like your idea, there will be next stage when there will be, there will be some discussions, there will be some meetings when they will discuss with you and try to challenge you. Obviously, investors want to invest as little money as possible and get as much as possible from your startup, so they will try to show that this idea isn't the best. But what I want to say here is that if you are great in doing presentation, like better than mine, well, let's be clear, it won't be a challenge. But if you are this kind of person, then probably this is the way for you. So you can just talk about your project, you can sell it, and sometimes obviously it is the only way, because you may have this brilliant idea on how to create something, but you don't know how to code. You are not a programmer, or you are missing some knowledge. So obviously, in that case, you need to pitch and find someone else. And I think this is one of the good idea, but we didn't go for it. And the other option which we went for is just to sell, to pitch by showing your product. So instead, what we chosen to do was to just create MVP, so minimum valuable product, so like a demo of your app, and just show it, just prove it. So let your project, let your application, let your demo be your presentation. And this is what we decide to do, because as I said, we are not good at pitching at all. So instead of just seeking for these investors, we just decide to build the very alpha version of our product and release it, and just prove to ourselves and prove to others that this is worth buying, it's worth investing. Now, another important thing is that, as I told you before, we didn't have any investment, so I don't have much experience with actually getting these funds. But on the other hand, all the big VC funds in Poland, they were interested in investing in us because we were profitable from day one. So we had a lot of discussion with them, and what I know for sure is that these venture capitals and angels investors, they don't buy projects, they don't buy even idea of your project. What they really buy, what they're really investing in is team. Is team, is a spirit. These are people, because, well, let's be clear on that. I mean, even the most brilliant idea today can be copied, and that's what China is doing all over the time, right? So they're just copying Americans' idea, and they are selling them cheaper. So this is not a big deal to clone something and create it. But what is difficult to clone or to copy is a team. And this is also one interesting fact about some differences in the culture. When we talk about Poland versus USA, there is this, in Poland, when something doesn't work, when you fail, I have this feeling, or at least this is my experience, maybe this is my bias, but I have this feeling that people like saying, okay, you failed, okay, you shouldn't try that. While in USA, if you didn't fail before, you will have hard time getting any kind of investment, because the success consists of many ingredients, and luck is very important in business. You need luck, right? Facebook wasn't first social platform. YouTube wasn't first, and so on. So you need luck in your business. But the point is that if your business, if you look at other entrepreneurs, usually when your first idea works, it means you were just lucky. Right? And this is not what you want to build your business upon. It's not what investors are looking for. They don't want to invest in businesses which were just lucky. What they are seeking for, they are seeking for serial entrepreneurs. So someone who can build more businesses for them. And obviously, if you do so, I mean, you're gonna fail. Sooner or later, you're gonna fail. This is the question you have to ask yourself. As for some of you will be which project will be successful. I don't know. You won't know either. But it might be your A project, B project. It might be your G project or whatever, right? But we shouldn't be afraid of failures, and failure are really good for you and for your project, for your team. And as I said, without the previous failures, we wouldn't build MDB. Now, let's talk a little bit about the leadership. But before we start, I want you to think for a second. Who was the best leader you work with? Just give a second or two to think about it. And then that could be your boss, that could be your teacher from school, some coach, perhaps someone from your family, like your mom, uncle, dad, or whatever. And now when you think of that, just think, why do you consider that person or these people as a great leaders? What makes them great leaders, and what did he do, or maybe what he actually didn't do, which makes him a great leader? Like, for example, was it yelling? Well, probably no. So leadership means different things to different people. So I believe that there is no single meaning for this word, and everyone has its own understanding. And I, for example, like this quote from Eisenhower, that leadership is the art of getting someone else to do something you want to do done because he wants to do it. And obviously it sounds a little bit like a manipulation, but this is the key difference. I mean, if you are a good leader, people will do amazing things, not for you, but because of you, and for themselves, not for you, but for themselves. After this few years working in business and working on my own company, I also have this feeling that leadership is kind of it's similar to parenting. I mean, you can read a lot about it, and you can prepare yourself for that, but then suddenly boom, and you are in this position, this situation, and you are just leader, and you have to lead something. You become a team leader, you become a manager, whatever, and you have to lead. So yeah, I mean, anyhow, no matter how many books you can read on that, then again it will just happen, and probably you will just make some mistakes, and you should embrace it. I mean, you should get used to it. So since leadership have many definitions, let me share you mine. So I believe the leadership is outcome of these 4 questions. So how to inspire and motivate people. So in order to motivate, you have to be inspiring, and you have to create vision as a leader. And this Ludwig Herzberg, his Polish doctor, MD, he said that whoever wants to ignite, who want to give fire to others, must be burning itself first. And I really like this quote, because I mean, to give this inspiration, to be inspiring, you have to also be inspired by your vision. Then how to manage, and obviously leader isn't a manager. There are 2 different roles. Sometimes they mix, but still, a good leader has to manage. I mean, as a leader, we have to manage delivery of our vision, and we have to deliver how to create, how our team will create it. Then, how to empower people, and this another goal is to empower team. And finally, the last role for a leader, I believe, is to build a real team. So not a group of people, but a team. So I have to confess something. So it's been since years. I lead people both first in corporates having teams, and then in my own company. And after these 10 years, I still don't exactly know what motivates people. Well, what I know for sure is that what definitely doesn't motivate them. But luckily, they are smarter than I, which carried some research experiments to find it out. And one of this theory is it's so-called 2-factor theory from Herzberg. So it's sometimes called a motivation hygiene theory, or dual factor. So I really like this comparison to understand this theory, is that Herzberg divide these factors to 2 groups, like this hygiene and re-motivators. And people very often mix them together. I see this all the time. So in this hygiene group, you can think of it like about the toilet. So imagine that you are working in a 50 people team, 100 people team in a single room, and there is just one toilet. And obviously this is not enough. So this is something which demotivates your people, which has huge impact on motivation. So what you are doing, you're adding next one. So you're adding, and then what happens? Obviously motivation goes up, it rises, and then you add 3rd and 4th and 5th. So the more toilets you're adding to this room, the people are better motivated to do his job, because obviously that doesn't frustrate them. But what happens then? At a certain point, let's say you have 20 toilets already, you add next one, which is 21st, and actually nothing really happens. So this is exactly the same thing which happens, for example, to money, to salary. If there is not enough money, if the salary is too low, then people get demotivated. But at a certain point, it doesn't make difference for them if they're getting more, because this is this hygiene factor. So it doesn't motivate. It demotivates, but it doesn't motivate anymore. So what motivates them? Herzberg, and it's pointing these points here for the hygiene and for the motivators. I personally believe that the biggest motivators factor are responsibility. So people want to get the responsibility, and they want to have the recognition for that. And this is at least my experience from my team and my companies, and it seems to be working perfectly fine. Now, we said already that manager isn't the same as leader. Obviously, in the small project, these roles are mixing up together. But just to show you this difference, I really like the story of Bob Chapman. And this is a CEO of a large manufacturing company in Middle West called Barry Wellheimer. And this company, when there was, crisis in 2008, was hit very hard by this recession. So they lost like 30% orders over a single night. And for a big manufacturer, which is hiring like hundreds of people, this is really terrible. So what they had to do, they had to save 10 millions. And what happens usually in this situation, we are going through this right now with this COVID situation. So the board is gathering and they have to decide about the layouts. So what Bob as a CEO did, he refused, and he said that he didn't believe in the head counts, he believed in the heart counts, and it's much more difficult to get rid of heart than just head counts like HR people tend to talk. So he came with the recovery program called a holiday program, a furlough program. So everyone, single employee, from a secretary to CEO was required to get 4 weeks unpaid vacation, and they could take it anytime they wanted, and they didn't have to take it consequently, so we could split it. But it wasn't the plan itself actually which mattered so much, but how Bob announced this program. So he said that it's much better that we all should suffer a little, that any of us should have suffered a lot. And then suddenly magic happened. Morale went up, company saved 20 millions, and people were taking 5 weeks of these unpaid holidays just for that someone could take only 3 because he was in the worst position. So this is about giving this feeling of secure to your team, and we're going to talk about it also in a few seconds. So what we also have to realize is the leadership starts with the self-leadership. And again, I like this quote from Visa founder, that if you want to lead, invest at least 40% of time in leading yourself. Because again, in order to give someone this power, we have to have it ourselves. So what's my idea, what's my theory about self-leadership? I believe it consists of 3 main subjects: self-confidence, self-awareness, and self-reflection. So as far as self-confidence is concerned, I believe that self-confidence doesn't come from beliefs, it comes from experience. So you have to trust in yourself. You have to trust that you can manage this whole idea, this project, situation, and the trust that you can achieve whatever you planned. And where this trust comes from, to gain this trust in self, we have to gain experience, and to gain experience, we need skills. So in other words, you are self-confident when you are good at what you are doing. So think of it like of learning how to drive a car. So remember your first lesson, and when you do it for the very first time, you have to put much energy and effort into like switching a gear, releasing clutch, then adding gas at the same time. So you don't feel confident on that. But when you do it a lot, when you master your driver skill, you start doing this automatically. And now imagine your closest people, team, family driving with you on the long journey. So how would they feel when that was your first drive? And how would they feel when you see that you are a really good driver? So you need to master your skills to give people feeling of secure. So if you want to be a good leader, you need to have your area of expertise when they know that whatever happened, you will handle this. They have to have this trust in you that no matter what will happen on the road, you will handle that. And the slide, which I like the most, mistakes. I cannot stress it more that I think this is the biggest, the biggest and the most important factor in leadership and in building self-confidence. So we need to make mistakes, and this is also a very important thing, because I think the working in corporate and big companies give you this space to do these mistakes. You know, when I quit corporate, my previous job, which by the way was very difficult decision to me, because I really like my way of working, and on the other hand I also wanted to do something on my own. So when I quit and we start the project, we built a new software and we waste like hundreds of thousands of dollars on it, and this project didn't work. You know, the first one worked out perfectly, NASA and so on, so we were, you know, confident the second will also work like a charm, but that didn't happen, and we wasted lots of money. So this is the point where I start, you know, explaining to myself that mistakes are just the lessons which other people couldn't afford to make me feel better. But this is actually the truth, and I think that's why you know, this whole program which you are participating in, and basically all the companies which are offering this kind of options are great, because, you know, first of all, you don't risk that much, right? I mean, in my case, I was risking my whole budget, my family secure, and so on. And here you can just do it. You have funds, and you can still make mistakes. And, you know, at worst case, you can get fired. It's like the worst case scenario, but I don't believe that's gonna happen. I think that you know, these people, the management, will basically see this as a something good. And that's actually what I've been doing. I mean, I know when I was in corporate, in the previous companies, I was taking this risk and I was making a lot of mistakes. But the reason I made this mistake and I didn't, you know, I took the blame, was the reason why I was the youngest manager always to managing older than me. And I think this really works. I mean, to take this risk, because, you know, the other thing is also that when you are building your company and you are on your own, you have like thousand of questions. And someone said this today, that there is always someone you can ask in the company, and this is awesome. Believe me, this is awesome. When I was working in the company, there was always a smarter IT guy, a smarter marketing guy than I, and you know, if I had these people in my company, I wouldn't make as many mistakes. So, and I wouldn't lose as money as I did. So take this opportunity, because when you try building something on your own, you're gonna hit exactly the same wall. So you're gonna be asking about, doubting about, you know, financials, accounting, and so on and so on. And having this kind of security layer in company allows you to focus on your idea, which is great, because there is nothing worse, believe me, for the entrepreneur to do all the stuff around the business except doing the business. And this is unfortunately also the reality in Poland that we are spending. There was this survey stating that you know, we have Poland is producing so much new laws that single entrepreneurs should spend 1.5 hours a day just to read all new laws which are released. So we can imagine how ridiculous it is. Okay, and then self-awareness. So you have to be really aware of what your strengths are, but even more importantly, you have to be aware what your weaknesses are. How do you do that? Ask for feedback, but not for the positive one, we all like it, but ask especially for the negative one. And then again, if you are self-confident, you don't care that much about the positive feedback anymore. What you care about is the negative. So don't ask, how do you like my presentation? Rather ask, how could I have done it better? What would you change in my presentation to make it better? And this is also what really worked for us when we built MDB. So when we started building this product, there were exactly 13 other open source solutions. Open source means free. So there were already 13 solutions which were for free, and we wanted to sell this for money. So what we did, we built a very alpha stage and we released it. And then again, especially in Poland, you know, we have this hate a lot of hate going on. So these are some conversations which we had with people, and they were for real, right? I mean, what I'm trying to say is that even if people say some bad thing about your project or whatsoever, obviously you cannot take it personally, but secondly, you know, hate is better than silence. So because if someone spend some time to write something bad about you, about your project, it's already some interaction. And always try to ask for feedback. And even someone can't, you know, he's not capable of giving you feedback in a proper way, still you can get much out of any negative feedback, which you probably would like to skip. So this is the point, right? I mean, you can always get something out of feedback, even if this is done in polite way, and just use it as your favor. Because if not this all bad opinions on our product wouldn't be as good as it is now, so that even NASA decide to use it. And one of the last point for today, for a self-awareness, is, you know, ego is usually one of things which can cause a project failure, and I think that this is somehow easier when you are entrepreneur, because, you know, especially if you are talking among the other leaders, you know, we have this idea fights, which is obviously pointless, because it doesn't really matter which idea is better. I mean, which idea wants. The whole point is which idea is better, and you can understand it better when you are a, you know, entrepreneur, because you have two options. Again, you can force your idea and feel better that this is your idea which was chosen, or you can, but probably it isn't the best. So as a result, company is making less money, and as a result, you are making less money. Or you can let it go, let your ego go, let decide others. Which project is better, which idea is better, which way we should go, and perhaps your ego will suffer, but you will make more money. So this is especially visible when it comes to running your own company. And the last point which I wanted to share is a self-reflection. So you have to reflect on how do you feel in this role of leader, and if you like it, if you like this role, you should make sure to do everything you could to be a best leader you possibly can. And there is this very interesting research from Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. So what they did, this guy who specializes in HR, and this guy said something like that. So imagine that you are on this boring meeting, which we all know it's gonna last 2 hours, and basically there are like 20 people, and you are not really required to be there, but yeah, you have to be there. So they asked this question to more than 100 students on university. So if you knew you're gonna be tested after this meeting, right, what would you change in your behavior to raise your score? So, you know, now we have these meetings and no one is asking, they're just ending up. And the question is, what would you change in your behavior if you knew that you're going to be tested after this meeting? And there were obviously different answers. So they were like, you know, I would be participating, I would be more active, and so on. But the key point here is that no one, over 100,000 people asked this question, has never said something like, I will do nothing different. No one. So why I'm telling you this is that because, you know, probably we're not gonna be asked after every meeting these questions, so we have to take care of it ourselves. So we have to ask ourselves questions. So the idea of Dr. Goldsmith is that you should set some kind of reminder or some kind of question which you're gonna ask yourself on the daily basis, because if you know that you're gonna answer this question, that will help you, you know, to achieve your goals. And if you think of this meeting, you know, just think of let's get back to the situation. So if you think of this meeting, you know, who is the biggest loser? And it's not the company, it's not your manager, it's actually you who wasted 2 hours of your time, and perhaps you could get something out of it. So this is my way of doing this. So this is my habit tracker. So, well, as you can see, I'm not best at it, but I'm trying at least. So I have this this kind of test and these questions which I'm asking myself every day on the daily basis. And I know that, you know, if day is about to over and I will feel it, this questionnaire, I feel embraced that I didn't do something. So this gives me motivation to at least, you know, do something more before I go sleep. And finally, I want to share with you this hero leader trap. So I believe that, I mean, we as a people think that leadership is like, you know, saving a world, that these real leaders that are saving the world. And I believe we have to redefine a leadership a little bit, because there is no world. There are just 8 billion individual understanding of it. And if you as a leader can change how one person understand of how powerful agent of change that they can be in this world, then you've changed the whole thing, right? So maybe you won't come up with the, you know, cancer cure, but maybe the person you inspired as a leader, maybe his daughter, maybe his granddaughter, maybe they will find this cure, and that's all because of you. And this is a simple idea, but I don't think it's a small idea. So just to sum up, this six point summarize my thought, my understanding of leadership. So first, learn from other leaders. Be aware that there are different definition of leaders. Work to build skills. Work behind the scene to prepare itself for this role. Believe in that you are a leader, right? It's not about heroes, it's about people. Take up tasks, so that's something which is also cool, that what you've been talking also today, that you have this option to proactively take tasks. I think Marta was saying that. Share your idea, vision, so speak loudly about it, share it, get feedback, and know and be aware that there are many different types of leaders. So I hope that this input from my side will give you some ideas and maybe give you some motivation. And maybe someday when someone will ask who was the best leader you work with, maybe they will think of you. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for this. So guys, maybe you have questions, something you would like to ask. Oh no, that's hands clapping. Yeah, you can either raise your hand or you can ask, unmute yourself. I don't see. Oh, there's, yes.
Hello.
I see Michał. Michał was first one.
Okay.
So Michał, I see your hand. So
yeah, I have a question. Perhaps it will be a stupid question, but I was wondering during the presentation, as you were talking about learning from your mistakes and going on. So you have the first version of the project. Let's say it fails, so you go with second one, third one, and so on and so on. And some stage, this final version is something you want. And I was wondering how to, when you are doing some project or you have some idea, how to make a distinction whether it still makes sense. So for example, if you have an idea and you are pursuing this idea and you are doing the first version and it fails, and you are doing second and let's say it fails, and you let's say are doing 10th or 11th and it fails, whether what question do you ask yourself in this situation? How you make the distinction whether you should go with another version or you should just drop this project and go with something else?
Sure, I totally feel you, and this is the question which I ask myself very often. Unfortunately, I don't have a good answer. I have some answers, but I think none of the entrepreneurs have a good answer for this one. So as I mentioned in this case, when we've been building this site, which has like 100,000 visitors daily, and we couldn't have, this many. So you can imagine how difficult this decision was, right? I mean, you still feel that that's gonna be successful, but all the odds are against you. There are two things, and one thing which helped me to make this decision at this point of time was that the friend of mine who said something like this: if you want to start your project, company, whatever, do not what you love, what we all often hear. This is a great idea for life, do what you love. But basically, if you want to start, if you want to kick off, do what you're the best at. And then, when we start thinking of it, we realized that, okay, so we are really poor entrepreneurs. We cannot make money, but we are really good at marketing because we can make marketing. And this part of our project is successful. So we redefined our goals and said, okay, so let's focus on the marketing. And that's how we came up with marketing agency, which was the first project which earned money for us. And we managed to create a marketing agency. So that helped me a lot. And the second thing is that, you have to be aware of yourself. And, a lot of these startuppers, they have this idea, which is very good to believe in is your idea, but if all odds are against you, then you can't go into the trap that everyone is telling you it's not gonna work, and then suddenly and you will still insist on doing this because you will just lose motivation, money, and so on. And maybe if you would just stop at this very moment, you could do something else. So two other options are ask for feedback. And but for the real feedback, just release it, give it a go, check, ask people what they would change, and so on, and give it a try. And finally, if nothing doesn't work, just time box it. Give yourself a time span of 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, how long you want to go with this idea, and just put a hard stop over there. So if you're not gonna make 1,000 zloty or $1,000 in 3 months from this idea, you're just gonna stop, and you're not gonna quit. You're just gonna switch to another idea.
Thank you. So we'll ask Iza and then Bartek. So Iza.
Hello. Thank you for your presentation. It was really inspiring. Some of the parts got into my head, and I hope they will stay. So I was wondering, you mentioned that in Poland we are quite closed when it comes to making mistakes and failing. And I can admit that I've got this attitude as well, and so I generally think of the brilliant end-up stage. And I was wondering, how did you learn to have this open mind for making mistakes? And was it maybe, I was thinking maybe it's because of flights abroad, it was really plenty of them. So I think when you change environment, it opens your head or something like that. But can you share your experience, what you advise to have this opinion broken inside?
Sure, obviously. Yeah, as you said, I mean, it's let me just make a note because I have two thoughts and I want to share both of them and I'm gonna forget them. Okay, so first thing you said, obviously, yes. I mean, working in different environments, working with Indians in India and seeing the other culture and approach to work, to deal with tasks, obviously helps. I really love, Dutch way of working. These guys are amazing to me, and then again, difference between Poland and Netherlands. I went for a project for the very first time, and I went to one of this boring meeting, and I didn't know what I know by now. So I was just sitting in the corner. This meeting wasn't absolutely about, didn't consider me, I wasn't, if I weren't there, nothing was changed. Right? I was just the first day on the project. So I just sit in the corner, I took my phone out and just start messaging, whatever. I didn't disrupting anyone and so on. And after this meeting, my manager from the customer side came to me and said, David, I've seen you've been playing your phone. I didn't like it. If that's gonna happen again, actually he even didn't say this. It's just, I didn't like it. I wanted to stop it. And I thought, oh fuck, first day on the new project, and they're gonna kick me off, right? And I think this is the difference between Poles and Dutch people, is that in Poland we wouldn't said it so strictly. I mean, my manager never was so direct to me. He would just come and try to give me this feedback in this very, this sandwich way. So, something positive, something negative. And this guy just came to me and told it. And these guys are very straight. They are saying what they think, and it has nothing to do about the emotion. So I like this approach much more, and this is something which we are trying to do in our company. So just get straight to the point. And this is obviously something which I understood, right? I mean that these guys are going to that extreme that I had the colleagues which were saying, okay, I don't really like you. I'm not gonna go for a beer with you after after work, but I like the way you are working. I think you are professional. I like working with you, so let's just focus on the work and stop this bullshit, small talks. So they are going even to that extreme. So when you do things like this, you understand that what really matters is your goal. And the second thing which helped me to do that is it's like with this feedback and so on. I have a co-founder, which is very good, because when you're running company, you feel alone. And I know many other entrepreneurs which are facing this issue that it's very difficult. It's tough. I mean, because seriously, there are some subjects which only other entrepreneur can understand. No family can understand it, no friends, and so on. So from one side, it's very good to have a co-founder. On the other hand, you can imagine how many fights we had, right? So this is very difficult, and we still have these fights, and we still have this discussion. But what we realize by now is that first thing is ego. Let ego go. So if you have some idea, I'm just dropping this on. We are having discussion, and I'm not attached to my idea. And if I'm not attached to my idea, I don't take this feedback negatively. So if they are talking bad, I know they're not thinking about me as a person. They're talking negatively about the idea. But foremost, what we learn is that bad decision is definitely better than lack of decision. So what we do instead, we just do the discussion, we just put pros, put cons, and then we make a decision. And as we said, we just iterate around and around and again and again. And it's just better to start with bad decision and let the market, decide whether it was good or bad decision. And then just, if we made mistake, just accept that we're gonna make mistakes, and that's gonna happen. So yeah, I mean, don't be attached to this one, right? I mean, be aware that you're gonna make mistakes. Be aware you are not perfect. Be aware that probably your idea isn't the best. So instead of just guessing, just go for it and try to do it. And obviously, the last thing which helps you is like self-confidence. Once you build this self-confidence, when you do something, when you realize what you achieved in your life, and it doesn't have to be the cancer cure, it can be anything. So after so many fails, we were already kind of self-confident that we can make it. If we're gonna fail, we're just gonna take a rest and start again. So if you have this approach, it's just easier to accept all the negative which comes to you, because you know that at the end you will make it. Sooner or later you will make it.
Thank you. And Bartek.
So hi, thanks for your presentation, as I also have the idea it was quite inspiring. So my question is a little different. So do you as an entrepreneur have any ultimate goal for your business at this moment, or as being quite a young person with this kind of success at this point?
Sure. Yeah. So there were three points I would like to share on this. So the first thing is that any goal is better than lack of goal. So even if you are doing this for money, I think it's okay, at least at the very beginning. I was kind of lucky because when I was working for IT corporate and I was flying all around the world, I had my this corporate credit card which was accepting all my expenses. And one day, after 3 years working like that, one day I just sit, because every week I was spending the money, I was making a report how much I spent, and one day I just put all these reports all together, summarize it, and I realized that I spent like 1 million Polish zloty, not mine, I didn't earn it, it was just the corporate money, right? So let's make it clear, I wasn't a millionaire, I just spent 1 million on hotels, flights, drinks, dinners, whatever. So this gave me this impression that, damn, I just spent 1 million, zloty, which many people dream of becoming millionaire or spending million, and it doesn't make me anyhow, anyhow happier than I was. So that was the point when I realized that for me money is not a motivation, but still again, if this is a motivation for someone else, that's perfectly fine at the beginning. So that's the one thing. The second thing is that, you know, I have this personal vision. I was an IT, I'm an IT guy, now I'm more entrepreneur, but I was programmer, I used to be. I was very mad and upset when I believe that this IT industry is spoiled. To be honest, this is my personal feeling. And, you know, I remember the situation when me as a very young guy going for a project meeting, and we have this planning meeting, and, you know, there is this estimates. There is this Scrum methodology where people estimate how long a given task is gonna take them. And the guy next to me, you know, like 40 or 35 years old programmer, was saying, okay, so I'm gonna need 2 weeks to build this. And I was like, what the fuck, man? I mean, it's like, I can do it in 2 hours. And with testing and going to production, it will be like 6 hours at most. And I was so pissed that these guys are taking advantage of this, that, you know, that they are kind of cheating. So my role and my vision as a CEO of the IT company is that we want to, we have this motto here, code for the world. So what we want to do, ultimately, we want to create this platform when these people, those guys, those programmers, which are, you know, 30 years old, and they're earning really good money already, so that they could do something for whoever, you know, for a nursery, for some school, I don't know, build some website, build some application for someone who needs that. So for example, what we did during the COVID time, we built portal, it's called Support for Hospitals. And also this is part of bigger project Dawka Wsparcia. So we built this application where people, where hospitals were asking needs and people could fulfill them. And third ultimate goal is that we believe in education. So we have a foundation which is called MDB Youth, and what we are doing, we learn and try to inspire young people in high schools. So what we start first, we were going to high schools and teaching people programming, people in high school, children in high school, how to program. And now we create a group, and now those guys, this is kind of association. Now these guys, they are teaching their friends, their colleagues how to program, how to code, and we have this plan to go globally in Poland, to have this kind of initiative in every single city. Obviously COVID make it a little bit more difficult, but we are not giving up. So this is the third ultimate goal for us, to create this like non-profit organization, because I believe, and I see that at my daughter example, she's 6 years old, and I already have few very cool toys which help her to understand what maybe not programming is, but what you know, this algorithmic thinking is. So you can start this education on the very early stage. So this is the third goal.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, David. In fact, we are running out of the time. It's already 12 as we planned. So I would like to thank you, David, for your part.
Marta, if I may just add last thought is that, you know, what I know, what helped me also is that, you know, the fact that I talk to other entrepreneurs. So if any one of you would like to just talk to me privately, please do not hesitate to. You can find me on Facebook, or you can reach me through Marta. So if you have any kind of question, there are no silly questions. Just please do not hesitate to do so. I will be happy, you know, to talk or have a coffee. So that.